Jenny-Jaymes and our sidekick Christian Cano, partner in crime, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you. Good morning, everybody, and happy 2024. This is Two Queers in a Truck with Christian and Jenny, and we got a little Key West background going on. Look like we're on vacation when we're in the middle of winter, and what a fabulous start to 2024. And oh gosh, I've forgotten. I'm so discombobulated because we took a hiatus, or we took a holiday break. Because many of us had a lot of things to do, and quite frankly, we had so many shows in the bank that we could replay all the shows that we've done between our two podcasts.
Years,
for years, and not even create new content. There's so much, and for the coffee show, if y'all watch both shows or listen to both shows, I think we're in our 7th season or something like that. Yeah. And that's just insane to think about, because I know I came on that show just really as a lark. I was a guest of a guest, and in 2019, after the show had already been on the air for a while, and just came on, did my thing, laughed, got invited a few weeks later, came on, then just started regularly coming on as a guest, like a reoccurring guest, and then they said, hey, you want to be a co-host? And then I was a co-host. And then the pandemic started, and we wanted to do a show that was conducive to the pandemic situation. So we dreamed up this show, the Two Queers in a Truck, by jumping in Christian's SUV, all masked up, so we could prove that we could do a show with masks on.
I remember that,
And we said, hey, it's Two Queers in a Truck, and we're going to drive around Charlotte. We're going to talk about Charlotte. We're going to talk about people walking around. We're going to talk about the different parts of Charlotte. And then we started doing the show as a regular show, and where we're recording it, and similar to coffee, but different. And then we went to the 6-segment time show, because we get to talking. And we get to talking like it's a personal conversation. And of course, time and space mean nothing. And we record this show before coffee. And so we have a time limit. And speaking of that, I got to set my timer for the first time in a while.
Does it work? Does it still work?
Let's try this little machine out. This timer machine. And it's fighting me. Oh, and it works. We got functional technology, and even if I'm not functional. But anyway, the first topic is Elmo is basically saying, and he's agreeing with these racists online, that United's had this recent controversy with I don't even know if it's a controversy, but they've had some mechanical issues with some planes and stuff. And I don't know how this came up, but I'm not a racist, so I don't think that way. But they've started saying, well, Air Force pilots typically have a high IQ based on SAT scores, and that Black pilots that graduate from historical Black colleges typically have low IQs, and we shouldn't be having technically Black pilots.
What?
And there's a whole little blurb, and Elmo not only agreed with it, but was saying, yeah, I guess we'll wait till people start dying in the hundreds. And I'm like, y'all do realize there's all levels of IQs that go to college, that the SAT scores are a range.
Yes.
And if you're going to qualify to be a pilot and go through all the training and go, typically most commercial pilots, like for United, usually served in the military. So they got millions of dollars worth of training. Yeah. Black, white, Asian, no matter who they are. They went through the same rigorous, whether it's a Navy pilot or an Air Force pilot, which is predominantly most of the commercial airliner pilots. And I know, because I have friends that fly commercial airplanes, and they almost 99% of them were former military pilots, because they got all that training. That was their first career, and then they retired from the military or left the military, and then migrated into commercial, aviation. And it's very, very bizarre. It's. I don't understand white supremacy, because when you base it on somebody's skin tone, because of their genetics, and think that has a link to brains, is just, or abilities, or intellectual abilities, or their humanity, it's tough to register that, and it's it's one, there is all, grade levels and SAT scores that go to historically black colleges. That's number one. Yeah. Just like there is with Texas Tech, there's even, you can even, at one time, you could enter on a probational level if your SAT was 2 score. I personally know somebody that got in on a very exceptionally low SAT score because they probably weren't the brightest bulb in the pack, and they got into Texas Tech, and they still graduated. They many people get into college on scholastic probation with low SAT scores. For the ones that have the rooms, specifically, especially state colleges and universities and local junior colleges and things like that. I know people that had to take remedial classes in college to get up to speed to actually, like, basic math, basic sciences, things like this, to be able to qualify to stay in that school. And it happens. That's why scholastic probation exists. And but typically they're not on the pilot track. They're typically not Air Force ROTC. They're typically not going to be flying planes. And even if they get in the Air Force, it doesn't mean they're going to actually be a pilot. There's a lot of other jobs in the Air Force, or an airline. If you had pilot hours and you've gone to different flight schools and flown different types of non-commercial planes, that doesn't mean that United's going to hire you, because you still got to have a certain amount of time in a simulator. You still got to pass all these tests. You still, it's not like a job at Walmart, and I'm not knocking Walmart, but if you go to apply at Walmart Incorporated and you want a job there for, like, the person that hands out the buggies, or cashes people out, like a cashier or anything like that, you don't have to have the aptitude and the skill set that's specific to flying planes. You don't have to have as much training. You don't have to have as much, you probably just have to have a good enough personality and enough skill set to be able to count and do the basic things that Walmart needs you to do. But it's a lot different than thousands of hours of flying in a plane and being in a simulator and understanding the difference. It's just like medical school and doctors. It's just like teachers and education time and the student teaching and all that. Is it certain fields of work have specific criteria that stair-step you into that profession? Attorneys, doctors, pilots, architects, whether it's licensing, whether it's training, whether it's whatever, on-the-job training. You just don't go from graduating a college or a high school and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a pilot for United." I'm just going to go down and I have the same skill set as if I worked at Walmart or Target. Um, that doesn't exist. But anyway, planes aren't going to start splashing down anytime soon. The next category, and it's about Elmo again. Elmo is Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter /X or whatever they call it these days. I like the dead name Twitter since he dead names his transgender daughter. But Elmo went on a banning spree this week and banned a a parody account called Liam Neeson, like Nissan the car, but like a parody of Liam Neeson, the famous actor that was in the movies like Taken and I Have a Particular Set of Skills type thing, and banned some people in the press this week. Now, this is when he bought Twitter, putting his Twitter byline that I'm First Amendment absolutist, that nobody should be banned from Twitter, that he was wanting to reinstate all the January 6 people and Trump, and Trump said, "Nah, I can't really be reinstated because I got my own competing, deal." But anyway, so he goes, they started calling him Apartheid Clyde, and started making fun of him. And I guess he got his fees hurt, so he said, "I'm just going to ban you." And it didn't end well. Liam and several others got reinstated pretty quickly. The public, because these people had hundreds of thousands of followers and are pretty well known. But he also came up with the hashtag Sissy SpaceX as well, because Elon Musk owns SpaceX, I guess, and so in fact went by that name for a little bit, and Elmo banned that for a little while too, and of course that just puts blood in the water. Like, dude, if you're going to be so thin-skinned that you, of all people, that brags about how much of a free speech absolutist you are, can't take a little bit of ribbing. When you're a known racist, it's not like we don't not know that you take a racist stance. You've shown racism in Tesla by calling the black area of his Tesla plant the plantation, and literally putting a sign up calling it the plantation. You've been sued because of that. The white supremacist things you agree with, the white supremacist things, and the fact that your family made money off apartheid, just little things like that, and and the people you hang around, the people you associate with, I'm not saying all Republicans are racist, but they sure have a lot of them amongst their group. They just have all a tenant, and the Republican Party is over 90% white. So you can do the math. You can figure out that the policies or things like that Trump said, which was, he's the president of the United States, 3 years ago. And early on, he said things like that Mexican judge that was the judge of his Trump University thing in 2016, referred to all the new arrivals from the southern border as murderers and thugs and drug dealers. When we all know that's not true. We all know that these are people that have traveled, however they've gotten to the southern border. But they didn't come here in luxury stretch limos. If they could afford luxury travel, they wouldn't need to come to the United States. I mean, quite frankly, I can't afford a stretch limo either, or luxury travel. But I'm sure as shit not going to. They're not the Pablo Escobars of the world. They're not the rich and famous drug lords of Mexico and things like that. These are poor people trying to escape pretty much life and death, starvation, Some of them are political refugees. Some of them are being targeted by different groups in El Salvador and other places. And they're just like my family when they came over from Europe, and Europe wasn't just really doing that great. They escaped, and just like many people, many of us have an immigration story. Most of us are immigrants, unless you're indigenous, and your family goes back to this continent for 12,000 years. But the most of the people that are saying crazy things about new arrivals are white people that have not always been here. And it's the irony that we live on stolen land, and there were people here before. There was over 100 indigenous nations here before. There was thriving culture here. There was pyramids. There was all up and down North America and South America. There was thriving societies, and then we said, "Hey, we'll just say we don't mind if we do," and we just came on in. And, these people aren't doing that. They're not invading the United States. They're coming here and pleading with us. I want a better life. Give me any job. I'll do anything. And that's typical of an immigrant story. Just like my grandparents that came here didn't come here in an executive job. They didn't come here in a yacht. If they could afford a yacht, they'd have never left Europe. I'd be a child of an oligarch. And we're up against our first commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck. Hey guys, I've got a special product out, and we've got a store under the name blueappliedtech.com, and you can go on our Etsy store, you can go on our social media, and you can check out our merchandise. We have some amazing snowflake Trump mugshot ornaments. We have mugs, we have pillow covers. We have a lot of cute stuff for the holiday season that you can buy. And it's great fun, and it goes to a good cause. It goes to my company, and it's helping us out getting started. And also, who doesn't want a historic snowflake Trump ornament?
Exactly.
Here,
that's funny. What's the name of it again?
And the name of the company is Blue, like the color blue, applied APPLIED Tech, like technology.
Blue Applied Tech. Ah, cool.
And so you can look us up. We have a website, but our store is on Etsy, and a lot of people use Etsy for different types of great gifts. They are assembled in the United States, so it creates American jobs. And most of all, it's a lot of fun, and they're not expensive. Cool. So,
Blue Applied Tech. Got it.
Correct. Come seek us out and buy some gifts.
Cool.
Hey, everybody. You can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye. Happy time. And we are back. Andrew Tate.
Is he still around?
He's still around. He crops up every once in a while. And he said the other day that he would not sleep with vaccinated women. And somebody remarked, well, that should be a selling point for the Pfizer vaccine. That's a benefit. And so, and many of these people, it's, mostly conservative Republican men that are say, oh, their blood's not pure. I wouldn't want to have babies with people that have, been vaccinated. And I'm like, I'm going to say people have been vaccinated for the most part with everything. I mean, whether it's MMR, whether it's smallpox, whether it's monkeypox, whatever, we've had lifetime of vaccinations. I said, you're going to limit yourself. Now, I know they're specifically talking about the COVID vaccine, but I'm going, first of all, the vaccine goes in and out of your system in 2 or 3 days. Second of all, you can't get the vaccine cooties from sleeping with somebody. It's not a STD. It's a it's a vaccine, just like, and it's a medication, just like amoxicillin or or an antibiotic or Theraflu or something. It goes in your system, it does what it's supposed to do, and then it flushes out. I think it's very, very bizarre that these people come up with these kooky, crazy, and they're not the selling points they think they are. These aren't like, well, I'm not going to sleep with a vaccinated person. Well, I'm pretty sure somebody's smart enough to get the vaccine from a deadly virus to protect ourselves from a deadly virus. Probably don't want to sleep with an idiot that won't. Not to put a too fine point, but if I was actively dating and I saw in somebody's Tinder profile that I'm proud to be non-vaccinated, I'm swiping in a direction that is not where we don't engage. And probably if there's a block button, I'm blocking that person. I know when they brag about it in their Twitter profile, that's an automatic block. I'm not going to have a discussion with somebody that's bragging about being stupid. If that's a badge of honor for you, thanks. I appreciate it. Goodbye. We're not going to agree on anything. And I don't understand why somebody would put, and they'll have a little needle thing and they'll say pure blood, and really they're convinced that this is a selling point, and they're not realizing that even now we don't even have to look into the future to realize these people are stupid. We can say it right now without an equivocal doubt. These are people that should not be driving around, that should not be operating in society. It's scary to think this person can be your neighbor, and that people are that dumb. It explains why we have these weird car wrecks and all these weird accidents, is because it's probably an anti-vaxxer. It's probably somebody that isn't that bright that actually goes on their Twitter and brags about it. And I can understand some people have a religious objection and don't take any vaccines. I know that certain Christian sects aren't allowed to do vaccines. Don't agree with it, but that's the reason why I'm not a part of their religion. And that's okay. I don't particularly want them around me. But but if you were to create a whole congregation of typhoid Marys, go ahead. Like good luck with that. Don't know how you survived adulthood, but you did. But luckily,
sorry, Jenny. I don't like to interrupt on your show, but so basically, what they'll say is, I'll take this wafer because in my mind it's the body of Christ, and I'll drink this liquid because in my mind it's the blood of Christ, but I actually don't know what it is. I'll do that, but I won't take a vaccine. It's like, oh, there, okay.
It is an irony of religions, especially religions that either do eat certain things that are symbolic of their religion, or they fast, and how they'll do that, how they'll affect their body for their religious beliefs, but won't take tried and true medications because their deeply held beliefs tell them not to. There's no real reason behind it, but it's just, yeah, you're exactly right. I always thought that it was weird I know as a kid, so I was raised Lutheran, and came to this, all the training classes, and they have a catechism class just like the Catholic Church does. I went through 2 years of that, and then of course took that first communion and all that, and so technically you're an adult in the church, and I always thought it was weird because it was one of the rituals, the kneeling and standing and all the things that most Lutheran churches do. It's fine. I know it's psychological conditioning to get you to obey and comply, but I always thought the
Would that be
communion.
called? Would that be called grooming?
Yes, yes.
Huh.
The many conservative Christians are familiar with. There've been thousands of years of grooming. Yeah, and yeah, there's that too. Ask anybody who's going to a church camp. But this week, we also had the third anniversary of January 6th, a very dubious date. And the new conservative Republican scam is to call the people that are in jail, awaiting trial, or have been sent to prison. They're calling them hostages. Hostages like what Hamas took, or like the Iranian hostages of all the Americans back in 1979. I'm going, there's somebody in prison right now that has access to the internet and has read that story and goes, motherfucker, and then I'm a hostage too, because I'm doing 10 years for, distributing weed or whatever. And I'm like, you got a whole, then we got to call the 2 million or so Americans that were living in prison right now or incarceration hostages. We need to call the undocumented new arrivals that are taken into custody.
Hostages.
They're technically hostages too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
If you violated a rule or regulation or the law, or came in with no documentation or a court order, and you get picked up and put in some kind of detention center, if we're going to use the language, we need to apply it to all people in an incarceration or detention center, and then we need to call them all hostages. Again, I don't think it's the hot mic moment that they think it is. It makes them sound, well, they always sound stupid, but it sounds stupid. When they say it, you go, hostages, what are they talking? When I first saw it, I didn't even know what they were talking about. I thought they were talking about the Hamas hostages in Palestine. I thought, there must be some, and I read further and I'm like, oh no, January 6th people, the insurrectionists, they're not hostages. They chose with their own volition. See, hostages, you don't willingly go and say, hey, I want to sign up for the hostage class. It's not a voluntary thing. The insurrectionists volunteer. They even printed up t-shirts. They bragged about it on their social media. That's how a lot of them got caught. And going over and coming back. So they didn't think they were going to get prosecuted. They thought the Mango Mussolini was going to, forgive them and give them immunity and waive the little pardon thing and let them off the hook. And he didn't. He screwed them. But they're not hostages. Hostages mean a totally different thing. And again, it's just like the word groomers that you pointed out a minute ago. They're misusing words for a fact. But nobody's buying that. Everybody's laughing at them. And it just makes them sound exactly what they are, which is inept and a little unhinged. I mean, there's a lot of people sitting in prison right now that are going, no, I'm not a hostage. I know I'm not a hostage. And trying to create some kind of victim mentality. And I I feel like it's a very bizarre. 2024 is going to be an interesting year. I mean,
Yes.
if this is how we're starting off, it's going to be a very
Yeah.
interesting year. You know, I don't know if you saw anything about the hostage line or what while you were reading social media, what your take
I
is.
did. I did, but Jenny, you and I have been doing this for such a long time, or it feels like a long time. And you and I have been engaged in how messaging and all that kind of stuff works. And what's so interesting is it's so apparent when the MAGA people are doing these kind of things because they're not very discreet about it. So, we talk about this a lot on both shows about how somehow one of their strategists, I don't know how it starts because they do it through email and through like, okay, this is our story, this is our talking point of the day, this is what we're going to do, and I don't know who leads that, which dumb person leads it. I don't know if it's MTG or someone, but I saw it with that the congressperson from New York. She first said the term around Christmas. They were talking about something, and then I think maybe even MTG or someone else said the exact. It was like the exact same sentence, and then Trump said it at his thing,
Mhm.
and it was like, okay, this is to me, this is the way it sounded because it was like 3 days you saw this, and it was like someone said, okay, this is what we're going to use for next couple of days because apparently people are saying this and we're going to use it, and they throw this stuff at the wall just to see if it like catches on. And then if it catches on, you will see Dan Bishop using it, you will see all of the other MAGA people using it. And the good news is, once they said that, people pushed back quickly, like you said, because they were like, first of all, they were like, hostages? They're not hostages. And then it was kind of offensive to the people who actually have hostages, their family members during the Israel Hamas war. And so it's one of those things when you see it and you see how they're saying it, and that congressperson from New York, I forgot her name, she's like his big fan.
Post-Benic.
Yeah, yes, she said it, and then she got quiet real quickly because their papers in New York started pushing back, and her own
Oh,
constituents were saying, "How dare you?" She has a lot of Jewish constituents. They were like, "How dare you use this term? It's not the same thing." And then she didn't say anything.
yeah.
And so it's interesting. It's both interesting to see this, but it's also like you and I talk about all the time. It's so sad because these are elected officials who it's just dumb,
Oh,
and
exactly. We are up
and
against our second break,
yep.
and we'll break real quick, and I want to continue this. Because we're gonna be our next segment's gonna be about something really dumb. But we up against our second break, and we'll be back with more Two Queers in a Truck.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
And we are back. Because the next segment is about Boba. But yeah, the language, if I was somebody that is from Israel or of Jewish descent or of the Jewish faith, and considering what's going on in Palestine and in Israel, and I'm not going to get into that and the politics of that hot mess. We could do an entire show just on that mess. But the language means things, and hostages and incarcerated people are not synonyms. They're not interchangeable. You hostage has a whole different connotation. And we got the Google machine. I'm not going to Google this for anybody. I'm not going to sit down and explain to somebody the difference in the language as they say it to me. I'm just going, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm gonna move on. I'm not going to pontificate on the ignorance and the offensiveness. Nor am I going to give them the narcissistic thrill of even discussing it. I'm not going to discuss that. But I wanted to point it out because it's just fucking stupid.
Hey Jen, hey, hey Jen, do you think this might be we may not notice it like right now, but maybe like in a month and 2 months? This is one of those many, many, many unforced errors by Trump and the MAGA people. Using the term hostages, the people on the other side, people who are running against them, and they should, are going to pounce on this, and they should pounce on this because basically, exactly what you're saying. You're saying if you are a lady or if you are a person who was a victim of a crime, and the person that did the crime against you was put in prison, what they're saying is the person who did a crime against you is a hostage in prison. And and it's not just Democrats who crimes have been against. There's Republican, there's independents, there's all these people who believe in rule of law. So this might be, depending on how it's played, this might be equivalent to 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when the term defund the police was brought up. And it wasn't meant to technically say defund the police, but it was like, okay, you want to defund the police, and it was pounced so much that people said, I don't want you to defund the police. And so this is one of those things that I think they're going to come back to regret in a couple of months, because if the people who are running against these MAGA people are smart, they're going to say, I'm the party who believes someone who was put in jail should be put in jail. I don't believe that they're a hostage, and let them explain it. Because in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's something that I think about something like that back in '92 when Papa Bush was running for re-election, and how kind of aloof and out of touch he came off. And I remember when he was on the campaign trail. In fact, I think it was this time of year. He was in Iowa or something. He saw one of those new. It wasn't new, but it was new to him because he had lived a life of isolation for so long. But he saw grocery store scanners for the first time, and he was just so blown away. And we're like, these have been around for a little bit, but because he was in the position of vice president and then president for so long, that the last time that he was, there's probably no telling how long it'd been that he'd actually grocery shopped. It may have been 10, 15, 18 years, just because of the positions he held in Washington, D.C. Typically people in the different jobs, they don't really cook for themselves anymore. It's a different world of diplomatic tours and all this. And it's not like the president runs down to the Piggly Wiggly and buys a sack of donuts and a dozen eggs. It just doesn't happen. It's not, they have people that cook for them and shop for them and all that. I did want to touch on the fifth subject, which was Boebert. Boebert is now going to run in the 4th Colorado district so that the Hollywood elites will not take over the 3rd district. Her logic is that she'll give a Republican a chance to run in that district that she believes is a strong Republican district, so that the Hollywood elites won't invade and take over Colorado's 3rd district. And I love the word Hollywood elites. And of course it can't be, because she almost lost this last cycle, and she was going to lose this coming cycle.
Someone else's fault.
Because she's not a fucking idiot, but because the Hollywood elites are against her. Well, if that is true, and the Hollywood elites have all these billions and trillions of dollars, why can't they just buy the 4th district too?
Exactly.
If that was true, and the Hollywood elites and the gays can just take over a congressional district and program everybody in the district to vote against her, I'm going to say that she's going to meet the same fate, and that stupid doesn't wash off. And she's stupid is forever. and I think she's going to get a surprise when she runs in that district. I don't think the fourth district. There's already like I think 4 or 5 people running in that thing because I think it's an open. I don't think there's an incumbent.
Yeah, the guy's retiring.
Yeah, he's retiring, and so it's a completely open district. I don't think the people of the fourth district of Colorado are going to like her that much. And that they're smart enough, and they have TVs and internet in the fourth district too. They realize, oh, this idiot, this chuckle fuck. We have conservative values. We also have a ton of choices. She's never going to get the nomination. My timer alarm is giving me grief too. I don't know why. Well,
yeah, her the people that are in that new district, it's really a new district for her. They basically are coming out and saying, listen, A, we don't like you thinking that we need you, and B, you don't even know this area. So why should we vote for someone who's not familiar with this, who doesn't know? Because the district that she's running again now is a very, very rural district. And she comes from more of an urban area for Colorado. And so and what she's saying is, and shows you the arrogance and stupidity of her, because she's under the assumption that everyone is a MAGA. They're not. And she's under the assumption that they need her, that without her, conservative values are going to go away. Well, these people in this new district, they're conservative. They're just not crazy conservative like her. And she's so basically she's offending them by saying, y'all are so bad that I'm coming here to save y'all. And many of them are like, we're ranchers, we're this, we don't really need you. We've been doing well without you. So I think,
and that's a very good point, because to me, MAGAs aren't conservatives. MAGAs are
exactly, they're not
a wacko extremist, whether it's a MAGA voter that runs around in a Trump onesie and spouts off crazy conspiracy theory as well as sniffing cocaine. I think they're the MTGs. I think these people are these extremists of the Republican Party that maybe called themselves Tea Party people or whatever before.
Exactly.
And they found a new home in the sideshow and craziness of Trump. And it's a position of acceptance. It's their home. They feel very comfortable because of all the racism and craziness and unhinged behaviors. And there's no real rules. It embraces a guy like George Santos, an MTG, a pedophile like Matt Gaetz, the wackiness of Trump. And in fact, it celebrates it. And so, but these people aren't your rank and file Rockefeller conservatives. They're not the rural conservative ranch people of Western Colorado. They're not the West Texas cotton farmer. They're not that type of conservative. That these people just go about their business, and they live in very rural, very isolated areas. And Western Colorado is a lot. The fourth district is so different. Aspen is in the third district. It's in Colorado Springs, another resort town. It's a very, even the conservatives there tend to lean a little bit more progressive. Yeah. It's not a flaming liberal district like West Hollywood or anything like that, but it is a lot more moderate than the fourth district, and they're not going to go for her hijinks of having sex in public theaters and being married to a former convicted sex criminal and things like that. That's not going to fly in the fourth. She's going to get surprised when she runs, because the person retiring was not a MAGA. and a very conservative, well-known. I think he had a farm and ranch background too.
Yeah.
And so she's not going to be jiving with the culture that exists in the fourth district. I did want to touch on the sixth subject was Yosha Iglesias won the first time in history in professional international chess, won the title of female international master in chess. I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about the sport or the thing of chess, but it comes on the heels of the international governing body of chess wanting to ban transgender women from the women's category. Now, just like racism, this whole notion, and especially in chess, there's no real physical skills needed in chess. You're not doing body checks like in hockey or playing foosball or something. This isn't a physical sport. Chess is more cerebral. One, I'm surprised that they have gendered categories in this day and age, and two, that it's that big of a deal that a female brain person, like a transgender woman, would be that big of a deal that she's in the women's category. By saying a transgender woman can't compete against a cisgender woman is either saying because this person used to live with a man that women are inferior. Is there a built-in?
It's exactly. Because are they banning transgender men?
Yeah. No.
So they want to ban. Okay, so they don't want to ban, or they're not talking about banning transgender men. They're talking about banning transgender women. See, I don't know why people can't see. Well, if you're really about equality, ban both.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the same thing, Jenny, that you've been talking about that makes no sense to me too. Like when these religious evangelical Christians and Bible bigots, when they're talking about, oh, we have to protect women swimming, we have to protect. They never say, well, I need to protect men swimming.
Yeah. Because
just their logic is saying that I believe women are so inferior that I have to protect them.
Yeah. And truthfully, there's so little participation of transgender people in any sport, whether it's chess or women's lacrosse or whatever, that one, we only make up of one of 400 people. So if there's 400 people in a room, there's only one trans person. And then there's less people that play sports. And, you know, the percentage, like in North Carolina right now, with the North Carolina high school and scholastic sports league, there's only 9 trans people in the whole state out of the main half students that even are registered to play. That does not mean they play. That does not mean they start. I think only like 2 of them actually got any playing time. And two students out of 1.5 million students is a statistical grain of sand in the ocean. It's not even, and it's the same way in Kansas. They wanted to do body searches of students, especially young girls in Kansas. And there was only 2 transgender cats that played sports in Kansas. Out of the hundreds of thousands of students in Kansas, they wanted to enact. Of course, that failed. And the Kansas legislature was like, we don't really need genital inspections. Like, this is MAGAnism. You know, this is MAGA extremism. This is insane. We're throwing the baby out with the dishwasher. You know, we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and we're losing sight of what's important. As they pass these rules and regulations and these laws, they forget that they're talking about human beings, or they're talking about somebody else's kid or somebody else's loved one. But the logic doesn't make sense and doesn't add up, just like racism doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Or xenophobia doesn't add up. Like, you know, the math ain't mathing.
Yeah.
You know,
And I know we're finished, and I sorry to interrupt you once again, but it also makes you think, or you should be thinking, of all the things to worry about, this is what you're worried about.
correct. Yeah, of all the things, the pressing needs that we have, like school finance, healthcare finance, the war in the Ukraine, homelessness, the list goes on and on.
Yep.
You're worried about the genitalia and the makeup of students.
Yep.
That's what you're worried about. That's the hill you want to die on. Well, nobody's been hurt by a trained person playing in sports. But anyway, that is the end of the show. And happy 2024. And this has been Two Queers and a Truck with Jenny and Christian. Bye, baby.
Bye, boo.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching the Two Queers and a Truck. And happy 2024. We are back. Whether you wanted us or not. See y'all later.
Bye, boo.
Bye, boo.